This is a chart of benchmark performance over the last 4 years. Immediately, you'll probably notice that this lower line, Google's best Tensor chips, year on year are being beaten by Qualcomm's flagship offerings. Whether on purpose or not, Google is simply not competing with Qualcomm, and it's been that way ever since the Tensor line's inception back in 2021. But does any of this even matter at all? I'm sure this video is absolutely going to divide opinion, so let's talk about that. Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas, and I recently got to spend an extended period with the Google Pixel 6 Pro, where Tensor debuted. And let's not sugarcoat anything, noise surrounding Google's first generation chipset was not glorious. Users were reporting connectivity issues, overheating problems, and despite all of this, the raw performance, particularly in objective benchmarks, just wasn't there. There were many recommending the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro at the time, but with the asterisk that, well, its performance and cellular connectivity just wasn't up to scratch. Fast forward 3 years, and whilst many of the bugs have been squashed with the Tensor chipsets you'll find in the most recent Pixels, it's definitely grown and evolved through the Pixel 7, the 8 and now the 9, the discussion around objective raw performance hasn't gone anywhere. Heck, I'm making a video about it right now, aren't I? But here's the thing. I'm not sure its objective performance numbers very much line up with the subjective but very real user experience. I spoke about this in my Pixel 9 review actually, that was pretty much the whole theme of the video, that the user experience is not always the sum of the individual parts. The Pixel 9 series is a fine line of smartphones this year. I have absolutely no problem recommending them, but it got me thinking, could this disconnect between numbers and feeling have all been the case back with the phone that started it all? Well, there's no escaping the Pixel 6 Pro's cellular issues. Or is there? I'm not sure if it's where I live, where you live, what networks we're using, and therefore the bands that the phone is operating on, but I've had about 5 different stints with a Pixel 6 device, and I have never had a dropout or a weakened signal where I wouldn't have that with another phone. This covers not only mobile internet connections, but phone calls as well that have really been the crux of the issue for a lot of people. This might be a little more nuanced than is obvious to start with, but it also means that it's a potential issue for anyone, which simply is not going to be good enough for many people. I know 3 people who bought the base model Pixel 6s when they came out and absolutely loved them. The only reason they upgraded is because, well, the Pixel 8 was on a ridiculous deal here in the UK for about 6 months. That's something else I've noticed as well. People who've moved over from iPhones in the last few years, people I know personally, have pretty much all gone Pixel, and without, speaking to me, without getting my recommendation, they've just gravitated towards the Pixel. And those who did go for a Pixel have largely stayed Pixel, be that the fantastic and feature-rich software experience, the wonderful displays that Google has been implementing into its devices recently, of course that top-shelf camera experience, or maybe the AI magic that Google loves to talk about in its marketing material. But no one I know ever outside of the tech sphere has complained about performance. And that's who I believe Google is targeting with its Pixel devices. I truly believe that Google is after the Apple crowd, not the Galaxy, Xiaomi or Oppo crowd. Hardware specifications have never really sold the mainstream on tech like the real world, tangible, viewable, enjoyable feature set. I mean, you only have to look at the Nintendo Switch for that to be obvious. And I'm not sure if you've noticed, but in pretty much all the Pixel ads these days, all they're talking about is software AI features, Gemini, AdMe, Top Shot. These are the headline things that Google is using to entice people over from Team Apple. And as I spoke about in the video not too long ago, it's working, particularly in the US and Japan. We also have to remember that Google has been making its own chipsets for just 4.5 years, whilst Qualcomm's been doing it for well over triple that time, meaning the big G has quite a while to catch up before its chips can be fully matured. There's time for Google to compete here, and it's very possible that it could in reality, but then again, I'm not sure that is what they're going for. I don't think that is the aim of Google Tensor. The chips only have to be good enough to keep the phone feeling relatively good for a couple of years. the average upgrade life cycle of a lot of phones these days. It coincides with contract lengths actually. And the chips only have to be good enough to doom scroll and play the odd 3D game. Most people, and I really mean like 95%, are not playing Call of Duty Mobile, they're not playing Genshin Impact, or anything nearly as demanding as those titles. They might be playing Pokemon Go or the trading card game, neither of which really require an ROG phone level of performance, and so the Tensor can get away with that. It was only a couple of months ago actually that I labelled the Pixel 6 Pro the best actually affordable phone that you can buy on account of its sub $200 or sub £150 price tag on the secondhand market, places like eBay. It isn't the fastest, it's not the most efficient, or maybe even the prettiest, but it offers a simply outrageous quality and quantity of features for the cost of a half decent pair of true wireless earbuds, and that's nothing to scoff at. It feels absolutely elite in the hand, especially compared to the brand new phones in its price category. It doesn't give off the impression that it's so cheap on the second-hand market. The display is phenomenal, the cameras are the best in category, and it comes with a lot of creature comforts too. Google has given it another 2 years of software updates on top of its already pretty good long-term software support. So it's going to stay relevant for longer, not only a handy thing for those who already own one, but as a wise and maybe positive PR move from Google to show its prospective buyers that the company cares enough to offer that helping hand to those who bought phones from years gone by. And that counts for something in people's minds, I think. The reality is that there are different makes and models of phones for different people. You have enthusiast models like maybe the Xperia 1 series, OnePlus flagships, Xiaomi Ultras and Galaxy Ultras, and you have the other high-end phones more suited to the mainstream, like the iPhone 16 Pro Max and Pixel 9 Pro XL. Does that mean that an enthusiast can enjoy a Pixel or that your average Joe can enjoy a OnePlus? No, absolutely not, because it all comes back to the fact that phone choice isn't always objective, and that's okay. In my opinion, there are far more issues to tackle before Google talks about objective performance. I mean, stuff like using an up-to-date storage standard might be there just to keep the phones feeling fresher for longer without having to add more SoC performance. Fighting back against Samsung's One UI with something interesting, because right now, One UI is the pinnacle in my opinion. And maybe give us a new camera array, though I'm not sure that last one is happening anytime soon. Pixel 6 through Pixel 9 has been steady progress in pretty much every single area. We haven't seen a truly insane Pixel since the 6 in my opinion, but I think given what Apple and Samsung are both doing right now as well, Google is probably okay with that. Tensor might make headlines for its poor objective performance, but when the real world users just don't care, the loud negative noise doesn't matter. I need to hear from you guys on this in the comments section. Are you pro Tensor or anti Tensor, or do you care just so little about what chip is in your phone that it doesn't even come into the decision making process? And if you're a long-time Pixel owner, maybe you have a 6 Pro, let me know which one you're using and how you found it over 2 years or more. I'm fascinated to hear your experiences on this. Someone who's had this as their main phone for sort of 4 or 5 years would be really interesting. And while you're down there, be sure to hit like if you enjoyed today's content, and of course, subscribe to never miss another upload. Thank you all so much for watching. I've been Ryan Thomas, and I will catch you later. Cheers.